Would you support amending the Constitution so that Supreme Court judges were elected and to a term, not these lifetime appointments?
I would first rather see that the federal district courts were elected or served terms.
But not the U.S. Supreme Court.
Well, it's because it is the original part of the Constitution. Now, I realize that they can change that.
We can change it.
Yeah, you can change it.
But the Constitution also is who authorizes, or what authorizes the president to appoint federal district judges.
That's right. No, well, Congress is the one that controls whether federal district judges even exist. The only existent court, a federal court, under the Constitution is the United States Supreme Court. All other federal courts and courts of appeal are designed by Congress. They can eliminate them if they wish.
Or they could have
to go back to an understanding
an election.
Yeah, to go back to and understand the Constitution, you got to understand that these courts serve at the pleasure of Congress, and they can they have a lot of power over them.
Speak to Christians who are not in office right now. There's young men and young women who are just so upset, and some of them are saying, "I want to change this," and this is a legal matter. And to quote a very wise person, this is either going to be solved by a gavel or a gun. I mean, something is going to give here. So if they're saying, God forbid we have civil war, God forbid there be violence, I want to get in office so that we can remedy the evils of this country. Speak to them. Speak to their heart.
Well, I think they should. I think that Christians should serve in public office. That's the only way we're going to maintain the country we have. And if this opinion goes into effect, it has an attempt to drive Christians from office. People that issue licenses are not going to want to serve and be under the thumb of a federal judge. And that's the danger of this opinion, because it threatens religious liberty, and people tend to shy away from
drives
Christians out of public office.
So what do you say to those who are pondering it right now? What's a word of encouragement you'd give? You've been in some brawls.
I say God is the author of what happens in our lives, and we're to stand for truth. And standing up for God in law and in government is a noble thing, and God will bless it.
50 years from now, if you and I are not here, which is likely, and someone is rifling through American history because XYZ happened 20 years from now as a result of this case, what do you want to say to those people 50 years from now if somebody digs this interview up?
I'd say the same thing Dred Scott said. The opinion in Dred Scott by Benjamin Curtis. It said that in 1857, and that was a lot more than 50 years ago. 1957 would have been 100 years. He said, when a strict interpretation of the Constitution, according to the fixed rules which govern the interpretation of laws, is abandoned, and the theoretical opinions of individuals are allowed to control its meaning, we have no longer a Constitution. We're under a government of individual men who, for the time being, have the power to declare what the Constitution is according to their own views of what they think it ought to mean. And that simply means that if people get in office and start ruling by their own feelings, you have no longer a law like the Constitution to go by. You're under a government of individual men. Now, Dred Scott was overturned, as you said earlier, Justice Roberts said earlier, on the battlefields of the Civil War and by constitutional amendment. And this amendment, this ruling by the Supreme Court is as pernicious as that was ever thought to be. I think it's a perilous time for our country.
I do too. I think we're in danger. I have been a leader in the pro-life movement for 30 years. And sadly, we have not prevailed in our goal to make it a criminal act to kill an unborn baby. There's reasons why we have failed. I wrote this book, A Humble Plea, to Catholic bishops, to evangelical clergy,
and to lay people, explaining where we went wrong and what we have to do to prevail. We've made this available as a PDF online for free. I encourage you to go and download your own copy. We have put together what we call an online university for you. Now that's a highfalutin way of saying that we have a pretty significant library of material, books, tapes, videos that are there for you for free. Why are we doing this? Because America is desperate for new leaders, and because this material could help you to become the leader that you and God want you to be. Check it out and enjoy it.